Okay, next week we are going to take a look at Lightyear because this has had nothing but hype around it. It's the biggest Pixar movie release. It's been hyped for honestly about a year and a half now, and there's I don't know. I I don't know if there's really room for a whole movie about the character that inspired a toy in another universe that isn't our own. Um, but people love Toy Story. People love Buzz Lightyear. This was an interesting way to extend the life of Buzz Lightyear as a character without having to make more Toy Story sequels. I'll just keep it real open ended. Are you excited to see it?
I'm excited. I think uh, I'm looking forward to this because the trailers have been very promising, and I'm curious, if not anything else, to see how they're expanding the mythos of the Toy Story world, or the world within the world of Toy Story, essentially, because this movie, as you
Right.
mentioned, it literally starts off with like black screen, and text comes on and says in 1995, and even to see a movie about Buzz Lightyear, and then or he bought a toy called Buzz Lightyear. This is the movie that that toy was inspired by. So it's
What's makes me wonder, like, are they gonna make this a cutting edge movie, or are they going to put this out there and animate it and write it and direct it to feel like a 90s movie? I'd be really
well,
interested if they did something like that
I
to
feel
make it
like they're going with like
feel.
a more of a timeless, because if timeless approach, because I don't believe this is meant to be. Even Toy Story, I don't think, for the most part. I mean, there's a few cues you can take from the production design, but for the most part, it doesn't.
It
You
doesn't
can't really
date
tell if it
itself.
takes place in the 90s, can you?
Well, yeah, I guess toys are probably a little different,
Yeah.
but that's also part of the genius of inventing characters, like Buzz Lightyear, to say this is his action figure from his favorite movie, which is so nondescript. Like, yeah, of course, any that could be in any kid's room.
You know what? One of the meta things about this movie is I
Everything,
noticed that, huh?
everything is meta about this movie.
Well, one of the more meta things about this movie is that Chris Evans plays the voice of Buzz Lightyear, the character in this movie, and in the Toy Story films, the toy Buzz Lightyear character is voiced by Tim Allen. And
Yeah.
some people who have seen like because they showed like the first 30 minutes of the movie at CinemaCon, uh, basically some of the people are saying like now you can kind of tell how it's almost like the way they approached this, the Chris Evans approached this version of the character was like this is the original, and Tim Allen was sort of like doing the toy version
Imitation.
adopted
Mm.
imitation. So it's
Yeah.
got like this weird. I don't know if that's maybe just the perception of the people watching because we know the context within which we're watching, or if that's how it was intended. But that just
Well, it's
sounds
it's
fun.
funny you should mention that because
Yeah.
that's now, I think more than ever, everyday viewers have much more insight into the production process and what goes on behind the scenes of movies. And
Mm.
that's why like we're such fans of something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where we're getting all of this backstage stuff, and it's not new. We all understand, and to a certain extent everybody's trying to create their own content so they know what goes into it. It's part of our lexicon now, as it hasn't always been. In terms of the actual voice acting thing, I find that hilarious. I have actually been in the situation that they're creating here, which is, okay, you're not the voice of the character, but we couldn't hire this guy to be the voice of the toy. Will you voice the toy? And I've voiced a number of toys actually, that are based on TV characters, and like they tell you don't sound exactly like it because then we could get into legal trouble. It's
Yeah, that's true.
it's a very it's an added complexity to the narrative of the toy, and it's I don't know. Like I hope they write it in a little bit. I hope Tim Allen gets some kind of cameo as like the guy who's recording it or something, or just is in there somewhere. Um, they
Make
should
a little meta.
a
Yeah,
little. They need, yeah.
Mm.
As long as we're in
yeah.
cameo land, like they should do that.
You know what I'm interested in? I'm interested in hearing what Roland has to say about all this, in particular. Um,
Roland?
yeah, Roland, what do you, since you're probably the younger of the bunch and you've maybe
He
experienced the
has
movie
no
differently.
chin. Where is his chin?
I don't know.
It's there.
Is this video frozen? I don't, I'm just, never mind.
Roland.
I don't, I can't.
He'll
You know,
grow
his
into
idea
it.
was maybe Max can like talk in Roland's voice and explain his feelings about the film.
Would you do
Yeah,
that?
guys, I think it's really fantastic.
It's
I
so
don't know.
real. This is Mags, the voice actor, playing Roland.
So meta. So meta.
But, no, I feel
That'd be a good
like
series too. Oh, so
we,
meta.
Oh, so
with
meta.
Lightyear, the only way they can actually get away with this not being very boring is to actually bring it more meta. If they do that, sure, because that's going to be something different, something different for Pixar, something different for
Yeah.
Toy Story.
Here's my next
Yeah.
question to you is like, because we really can't do more of this particular set of toys, but we all know the Toy Story people. What do you think is more likely? A series of Lightyear movies because we love the character and we want to see all of the adventures he goes on as a real hero, or a gritty Western about Woody, the real cowboy.
Definitely Woody.
You think
Definitely
Woody would be
Woody.
more realistic?
I think, and it's going to be next, I think.
Okay.
Well,
After,
the movie
after the
makes a lot of
success,
money.
yeah,
We're gonna get.
They-
we're gonna.
we're going to
already
get
have-
Mr. Potato Head
I would. You know what? Give me a backstory for Mr. Potato Head,
and Slinky.
and I'm there. And I'm there. If you can turn Mr. Potato Head into Pixar, I hope you're listening. If you can turn Mr. Potato Head into 2.5 hours of gritty realness, and I believe it, I am officially a Pixar fan.
We should
Number
start a
one
petition.
Yeah.
Who do you
Let's
think-
start a
so do you
petition.
think Tom-
Can wait. Good note, Dan. Can we start that? Can we get? Let's make a change.org thing. Let's spread it around and let's see if we can get them to make a Mr. Potato Head movie. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Let's get
Maybe,
on with
yeah,
it.
I mean, I think next week when the movie's out and we're like, okay, this is great. Now we should do this. Yeah, we could do that.
We'll film a
Let's-
promo video.
let-
We'll do the whole thing. And if you're subscribed,
Let's go to
just sign the
theaters.
petition. Yeah, let's film ourselves going to theaters. Like, we want a Mr. Potato Head movie. Sign. And I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm thinking they could do a what's this? They could do a Woody Disney Plus miniseries, like a 6-episode miniseries.
That's
like,
the move.
A la Gunsmoke. Maybe even make it black and white. You know, and
Yeah. And of
for
course,
all we know, Tom Hanks
you
will
know
still
what,
voice
for-
the character.
That's the thing. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is of course they're still gonna let Tom Hanks be the voice of Woody when he's an
Yeah.
old grizzled.
What
There's a
was
snake
like the
in my
go-to
boot.
line? What was the there's a something in my boot?
There's a
There is
snake in my boot.
snake in my boot.
Snake
Yeah.
in my boot. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
But I mean,
snake
Light-
in my boot.
Okay. Lightyear, well, I'll just to very quickly kind of give my. I'm looking forward. I've suggested this as like the movie to see this month, not necessarily because it's the best movie, because it's subjective whether it's the best movie or not, but the trailers are great. You can see how they're bringing in some of those other secondary characters, like you see the villain character behind Buzz. That's they look very different. They're the little alien green toys in the Toy Story
Oh,
movies.
they decided those are all from the same universe.
Oh, they
Weren't
they
they always
recognize Buzz in Toy Story.
Okay.
He
Right.
saved them. Oh no, they did not. But they saved them, and they're like, you save us. We're like forever grateful. Was it him or Woody they saved? They were
don't
saved
know.
by Woody or him. Yeah,
Forgetting, but
they
I
were
mean,
like
look,
their minions.
all of that said, this movie just looks like a lot of fun, and that's why I'm excited about it. I know maybe you guys are a little more cynical, but I'm looking forward to
Maybe-
it, especially
maybe.
because it's the first Pixar movie they're putting out in theaters in a very long time. So I mean,
That's true, and
That's
there
part
should
of
be. That's going to be a big event in any case because Pixar was a big draw, especially even, I remember the first Pixar movie that was like huge for me was Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
But why
Everybody
not
needed to see
making?
that.
But why not making something like? Here's my problem with it. Why not make something like Soul, Inside Out, Up, something that can actually be of substance for kids out there? Because that's what those films.
Well, there's nothing to. Okay, this is part of the problem. Okay, so you guys are. Here's the thing. This Lightyear movie, it does obviously have inspiration, and you've seen some of the characters or versions of them in the Toy Story movie. But really, the central premise of this movie doesn't have anything to do with the Toy Story films. So it's almost like you could treat this as a standalone film too, because it doesn't directly connect canonically with like the Toy Story films at all. But I do see your point.
But
Right.
Pixar is famous for dropping little hints that like, no. If you're paying attention, these are all connected. And
They'll find a way.
They'll
Yeah.
always find a way.
Have you guys?
They always find a way.
Have you seen that scene in the second in The Incredibles 2 where the baby Jack like goes missing and then he's like firing up and you hear like this phone call, he's doing all these crazy things, and then in Monsters University there's like they're walking on the street and then in the background there's an apartment that randomly starts getting blown up, and it's like it blew my mind the first time I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's how they connected that. I'm like, can we just have that as a short film?
There's actually a theory that every single Pixar movie is in the exact same universe and that they're all related, and you can look
I find
for
it
hints.
plausible.
Honestly, there's an article that came out a long time ago. I'll try to find it, but they found little hints in every single Pixar because everybody's working on all the movies at the same time. And so they can say, "Hey, just put that sock in there." They'll recognize it if they're looking for it. And it's amazing how you can really draw a through line from, and if you put them in like chronological order, they all do work. That's one reason why people go to see these things. It's like because they're trying to see how do they fit this in. The most easily accessible one in my mind, there's a Pizza Port truck that drives by in Australia in Finding Nemo. And so like it's stuff like that where it's like, well, we have the elements, so let's put it in there real fast.
I mean, we live in the world of connected universes, but maybe these are just like old school Easter eggs, just small winks by the filmmakers, not necessarily with a big plan.
Originally, yes.
Yeah.
Should we make an episode about Easter eggs, like the culture or like the effect of Easter eggs, the cult of Easter eggs?
Yes.
Like I was thinking with Obi-Wan's, people make 45-minute videos just to go through every single Easter egg thing.
I heard there was a Mace Windu thing going around.
Yeah, but it's not because he lost his hand, and
that's
I already
right, exactly. He's not one of the guys in the Amber. Yeah.
No.
Well,
I was because everybody was looking, and that's the whole point. Once he entered that room, everybody was like pausing every time they showed like one of the Amber chambers, and they were like, "Oh, are we supposed to know these people? Who are these people? Is this an animated show reference? Is this referring to some live action character?"
And that when you watch we watched my review, but this is something that's the only scene where there was so much more that they could have explored with that, and they decide not to because they were focused too much on Easter eggs. That was like exactly my point of the review.
The disappointment of that episode was not what happened, but what didn't happen, and how I think my point that I made a week ago was how Disney is just piecemealing this out to us and hoping that we keep taking it, and I think people are starting to finally like run out of patience. But especially with Obi-Wan, and I think but that's gonna be next week. One of the things on the show. Yeah.
If they're really bold, what they'll do is they'll do the Buzz Lightyear thing, and they will drop a hint that Buzz Lightyear exists in the same universe as Luke Skywalker.
Imagine.
That's my
or BB-8 or BB-8 was in fact a toy.
Something. But like they have the properties, they could do it. And it could be a million years later, and all it would take is one clever little time travel device to put them in the same scene. So we'll see. But in any case, we're going to go see Lightyear next week, and we're going to talk about it. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure you follow us, make sure you like and subscribe and do all that, and share us with your friends because, again, we're doing everything we can to make this world a little bit more interesting and pique your curiosity. So till next time, this has been Oh So Curious. Goodbye.